So first off, I'd like to thank Google for having us, throwing this awesome event. I got to do the London one last year. It was a lot of fun. And for making a platform, allowing us to do all of this great stuff and make money, which I know we all like. So anyway, I'm Jonathan Badeen. I'm co-founder and chief strategy officer of Tinder. I am, I guess, known a little bit for making that swipe right thing. So just trying to do better. It's not going to happen probably. But today, Jeff and I'd like to share our success story with Going Gold, our latest subscription offering, and how we got to that. And I think to do that, need to kind of see where we started from and how we got to that point and the way we think about these things. So Tinder was launched in 2012. We were really trying to help people meet the people around them. You've got your phone now, everybody's looking down at it at that time. They're not really interacting with the people around them. We wanted to change that. So we launched in 2012. Today we're now in 196 countries, 1.6 billion swipes per day. That results in about 26 million daily matches. That comes out to over 20 billion matches so far. And that comes to what really matters is 1.5 million dates a week. But to achieve all of that, we had to craft an ecosystem. And we looked at the things that existed prior to us. Most of these things came from the desktop world. And we looked at what we felt could be improved upon in addition to just doing a mobile-first platform. So we had quite a few goals for the platform and the ecosystem, but a few of them stick out specifically for how they relate to our monetization later on. So we really focused on location. It turns out that location's this pretty important thing when you're trying to match two people up to physically meet in the real world. So we focused on that. A lot of the things before us had allowed the user to search for whatever or put where they were and all, but we made it required that you used location services from the app, the GPS and all. That was the only way you could do it, so you could only see the people around you. The next is that we had noticed that a lot of people, especially women, were getting tons of messages, and it created a lot of noise. So you had too many, you got all of these messages from people you didn't want to be interacting with, and then you couldn't find the people that you were interested in. So it was pretty overwhelming, especially for women to go through the previous products. The next couple are pretty crucial. We were trying to reduce feelings of rejection on the flip side. And this kind of goes actually hand in hand with the filtering of noisy messages. So you've now got a system previously where you're sending a whole bunch of messages, hopefully meaningful and lengthy ones to try to stick out. But you had this outbox or this sent messages list that was basically just your rejection list. So we really were trying to solve that. And in addition, to solve that, we actually did one thing that kind of solved both of the noisiness and the rejection. We added the double opt-in, or what we call the double opt-in. So only two people who swipe right on each other are allowed to message each other. That kept you from getting unwanted messages, and it kept others from spending too much time on a single user that they weren't going to get a response back from. To reduce the feelings of rejection, we also did a couple other things. We decided you can't go back. You can't sort of dwell on a user. There's once you see them, they're gone, because it's kind of hard to feel rejected by somebody you can't remember. Alcohol works too. So we also wanted it to be anonymous. You don't feel quite as rejected if the other person doesn't know that you're out there. The worst thing is putting yourself out there and then hearing no. So nobody would know whether you liked them or not unless they also like you. The last thing we did was we tried to create something that was fun and simple. That comes through in the lightweight, the game-like interactions, the swipe itself. And this sort of gets us to the point where about 2 years after launching, we're now trying to figure out how are we going to make money off this thing. Costing us a lot of money to run this. And we started to think of how we wanted to do that. And we decided that we wanted to accomplish this by adjusting we needed to adjust some of the rules of the game, which we felt we'd learned from some unforeseen behaviors. But we also wanted to perhaps let people break our initial rules. So in 2015, we launched Tinder Plus. We launched it with 3 different features, and we did price testing, which showed us that we would start out with a $9.99 price point. Those features included Passport. Passport allowed you to break the location rule, and so you didn't have to go off the GPS, and you could virtually travel anywhere in the world. Then we also had Rewind, which allowed you to go back, spend a little bit more time, maybe change your mind on which way you swiped for somebody. Now, the next feature was paired with a change to the overall game. We hadn't really expected this when we created Tinder. Whether with your finger or a piece of meat, what you're really doing is creating a lot of noise. One of the things that we were really trying to get away from. You didn't have these earnest matches. And so what we decided to do was to limit the number of swipes, right swipes, that you could do per day to hopefully make people think a little bit more about their choices. But, because we like money, and because we thought maybe there are reasons for you to be able to have a little bit more, we gave you unlimited right swipes. And this concludes the first feature set that we had launched. But as time went on, we added a few more that included Super Like and Boost. Super Like allowed you to sort of break the anonymity rule. It would allow you to express interest in somebody, which in turn actually, I guess, maybe displays confidence and makes it more likely that that person's going to swipe right on you, them knowing that you already liked them. And then we gave Boost, which basically everybody has to stand in line. It's only fair, but Boost allows you to cut in line a little bit for a temporary amount of time. We also added a slew of other features. I won't really go into them, but what I think the real point here is we had a whole bunch of features, and our price point stayed the same. So we're giving you that much more value than we originally did with Tinder Plus. So now that you kind of know how we got to all of this and where we were at this point, how it ties into our ecosystem, to the point of before making gold, I think it's time for Jeff to share with us how we went about doing that.
Sure. Thank you, guys. Thanks to the Google team. I had the pleasure of traveling to Asia last year with a bunch of you guys, so really nice to be here again. So Jonathan just went through how he created Tinder, and I'm gonna show you how I broke Tinder, because that's what I do. But I'm Jeff Morris. I'm the Director of Product and Revenue, responsible for Tinder Gold, and also built Boost and a few other things. So this is the team I work with. It's about 18 people. I'm showing you this slide just so you know, to build kind of a global business, you don't need this massive team. So if you're sitting in your office thinking, you know, that's great that Tinder did that, but I probably can't do that, you can. You just need the right roadmap and set of ideas. So as mentioned, Jonathan just showed you all the rules that he created. My job when I walk in the office every morning is to think of what rules we can break and what features we can give some subset of customers, but not everybody, because it would literally break the game of Tinder. So if you think of Boost as an example, if everyone was boosting at the same time, the whole world would be boosting and the game would just break. And so I'm thinking of things that we can give people in limited cohorts that will make the game more efficient or fun. And the key thing here is if you think that any rule that you build in your product, so all those rules that Jonathan just showed you, if you think those are sacred and you walk into work every day and you're like, we could never do that, your job is to challenge that. So go to work every day, think of what's in your game, your application that you can unlock for a certain subset of people. So if there's any two things to take away today, it's these two. This is how I think about monetization. It's access and exposure. And you can read all sorts of books on game theory and how you design games, but if you just have those two things in mind, you can probably go to work and come up with some pretty cool ideas. A lot of what we do, and this is a newspaper article from the 1800s. I show you this because you don't always need to invent something new. What you can do is make it a lot better. So this is an ad. A male paid 25 cents for this, which is $4.50 now. He took out an ad saying he's an honorable gentleman waiting for the right woman. Tinder is obviously a lot more efficient, but we're not always inventing new things. And if you look at some of the features we built, you can probably find something historically that did something similar. But our job is to make them kind of 10x better. And so speaking of history, this was what we built last year, 2017. It's a feature called Likes You, which we package within Tinder Gold. And I'm going to show you kind of the crazy development. I've never shared this, actually, so we'll see how it goes. But I'll show you the development process that went into this. We made some really bad decisions and some good decisions, but ultimately really happy where we landed. So I'm going to, and feel free to make noise if you think this is a good idea or bad idea. But this was the first version of Likes You, which was the main feature. So I broke one of Jonathan's rules, which was I wanted to show you who likes you before you swipe. We kept the double opt-in, so you both need to like each other to message. But I really thought that the game could be more efficient if I just knew who liked me. And so ignore these prices. By the way, this is a designer who clearly doesn't know how to price things. It's our average price was anywhere from $9.99 to $19.99. We had this very dense feature set. So you saw that list of items, probably 10 features that we had already packaged within Tinder Plus. And kind of the debate we had on the product team was, we're unlocking what's probably the most valuable thing we could ever give away on Tinder, which is showing you who likes you. And now we're just going to give it to everyone within Tinder Plus. That didn't seem like a good idea. And so we went back and forth, and this was the original design. Again, we were going to package it within Tinder Plus. And so one day, one of us came to work. Actually, we were text messaging, and we said, what if we just allowed people to have multiple subscriptions? You could literally have you could have Tinder Plus and Tinder Gold at the same time, which we had seen games do, and it seemed like a really cool idea. And then I met with our finance team and our accounting team, and they thought it was a terrible idea. And then we just talked more about the customer journey and what it might feel like to have two different tiers at the same time. That would get pretty confusing. We have seen games do this, and it's kind of a cool model, which I could see becoming a thing one day, but not quite yet. And then V3, where we landed on, which I'm really happy we discovered, was a simpler version. So it was a Tinder Plus upgrade, which is now we created Tinder Gold. One key thing is we spent a lot of time on the branding. So we didn't just want to call this like Tinder Plus Plus. We thought about what's actually cool, fun, what's going to get people's attention. So one of the things which we didn't show here is when you tilt the phone, the gold kind of tilts with you, and it has this shiny animation effect. All of our paywalls have like crazy animations and fun things, probably inspired by people like Jonathan, who are kind of product perfectionists / nerds. Sorry, Jonathan. Who, we spend a lot of time making our paywalls better, which seems crazy, but we geek out on that stuff as much as we do the core product. But basically what you're seeing here is this is the upgrade flow. So as you see here, you can upgrade for $9.99 a month. We still feel like, so at $19.99, you're basically paying $29.99 a month. If you're on the $9.99 tier, you're paying $14.99. We still felt like that was probably low, but we thought $9.99 felt like a good place to start. And one of our concerns was, I'm sure you're sitting here saying, you read articles about different people raising their prices and customers revolt, and we definitely had that fear. Would customers think this is fair? I'm paying for Tinder Plus, now I have to upgrade. Would they think it's too expensive? Would they find enough value in one feature to justify an upgrade? And we definitely were worried about all these questions. Ultimately, we solved everything through testing. So, our older cohorts showed us that they were willing to upgrade, and we proved that through very limited tests. But if you're kind of scared about customers revolting, definitely a great concern. But I would challenge you to run tests to see if that's the truth. Also, we have, as was mentioned, we have a shorter kind of life cycle. So we have cohorts coming in and out. So there's no hopefully there aren't people who've been on Tinder for 5 years who are sitting at home really upset about this, because we have new customers coming in every day and people leaving because hopefully they found someone they really like. I'll just show you a breakdown. This isn't anything that appears in the application. But if you really look at what we did, we created a new tier off of one feature. So if you have one thing you're thinking about unlocking, you can possibly create a new tier just off one feature. This would be a very boring thing to see in the app. It kind of looks like a SaaS billing page. But the key thing to see here is we have this rich feature set, which is Tinder Plus, and we just tweaked it a little bit and created Tinder Gold. One of the challenges we've run into, and we're still figuring out, is how do you sell multiple tiers? And so we have this baby we created. It's Tinder Plus. Business is going really well. Stock price is doing well. The company is really comfortable and happy. And now we're going to release Tinder Gold. So how do we sell two things at once within this small real estate that's your mobile phone? Ultimately, we were very conservative, actually. So we probably have dozens of entry points to paywalls within our app. But we really only sold Tinder Gold from two places, one being your match list, which we had never monetized before. So if you tap on that 10 says this person has 10 plus people who like them. Or you can go to your settings page, and we started to emphasize Tinder Gold more than Tinder Plus. Again, people who worked on Tinder Plus, it's kind of like telling them their baby's no longer the focus of our attention. We're not moving on, but we're willing to try something new and focus on something new. And that was definitely a concern internally. But again, we tested. Also, certain cohorts, we emphasize Tinder Gold to more than others. So if there are price-sensitive customers, maybe you do want to get them hooked on the kind of the intro package. Again, you'll have to test this a lot, but merchandising definitely becomes a challenge. Only recently, so we're about a year into Tinder Gold. We're just starting. So if you think of the gamepad on Tinder, things like rewind, things like running out of likes, we weren't even letting you subscribe to Tinder Gold until about a week ago from those paywalls. And the big concern there is, what if conversion flops from your main paywalls, and then you're suddenly in a world where you're trying to kind of revert back to your old model. We also considered a tabbed version, again, like that SaaS page that I showed you. We don't want our paywalls to start feeling like there are so many different choices that I have to make. So right now we have a single entry point option, which is you can only buy Tinder Gold from our core paywalls. One cool thing that we saw, and I think for any revenue feature you build, you want to build complementary features. So rather than having things that cannibalize other paid features, we made Boost more valuable as an example. So here's a user who's sitting in their likes list, boosting, and they're collecting more likes kind of in real time. So a very powerful kind of way to augment what was already a great feature with Boost. So just as you're building new features, think about how they'll interact with your other paid features. And if you're designing a game or anything that's social, hopefully they'll make that feature better. Here's the results. So proud to say we were #1 in Google Play last year. I'm not sure where we finished. This is January. We finished the year #2 behind Netflix for non-gaming apps. This was all kind of, there were many ways we got here, but the Tinder Gold tweak was what really kind of pushed us over the top. We nearly doubled subscribers, more than doubled our revenue, 3.1 million average subs, which was an increase of 544K, and then again, second highest grossing app. This is kind of the hockey stick that we like to see. Again, I'm not going to give Tinder Gold all the credit in the world because other people from the Match Group might be here and might beat me up in the alley afterwards. But again, we saw this great result in the public markets, which was our stock price more than doubled. And again, there were many ways we got here, but we were happy this happened. One other result, we're always searching for features at Tinder that will appeal to women subscribers. The honest truth is in the dating space, men are far more likely to pay for features than women. It's just how our vertical happens to work. We did see, and this was actually a tweet yesterday. It said a few people convinced me to try Tinder Gold, and honestly, the quality of my conversations and dates went up a lot. We did see an increase for female subs of 7.4% when we released Tinder Gold, which we're really excited about. GQ said this was, it's more lady-friendly, which is good news for everyone. I'm not sure what's going on here, but we were happy about this article. So if I want to leave you with any rule, it's go back to your office after today. Go to people like Jonathan and say that you want to break your own rules. That's how you'll monetize, and yeah, go forth.